Hi, thank you for checking out A1 Math. And today we're talking about properties of exponents. I want to focus on two, the product of powers property and the quotient of powers property. Remember, product means to multiply and quotient means to divide. But what you do with the exponents is going to be a little different. When you have the product of powers property, you're going to take your exponents and add them. So if you're multiplying your variable, you're going to add the exponents. With quotient of powers property, if you're dividing your variables, what you want to do is subtract the exponents. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. Okay, so in working these problems, the first thing you want to deal with is negative exponents. Now, if you have a negative exponent, you want to swap it out to whatever side it should go on, opposite to where it is. So right now, you have x raised to the negative 2, and we're going to drop it down and put it in our denominator and leave everything else in the numerator. So it should look like this. You have x raised to the second, now it's positive, and y cubed times y times x squared. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do is take a look here and see my x squared and my x squared. Typically, you could just cancel that out, but I want to demonstrate what you do with your exponents when you divide. Remember, when you divide, you're going to subtract. So if we do 2 minus 2, we get 0. So it'll be x raised to the 0, and x raised to the 0 is 1. So we're going to take our x squared and x squared, subtract, and that's going to leave us with x to the 0, which is 1. Now, with our y cubed times y, remember there's an understood 1 here, and to multiply these, we're going to add the exponents, and that's going to get us y to the 4th. Now, y to the 4th over 1, it's just going to simplify down to y to the 4th. Okay, let's take a look at another example. We have u cubed over 2u. Okay, and like I said, the first thing you want to do is check for negative exponents. We don't have any negative exponents, so everything is fine there. And we want to go ahead and simplify this expression. So we have u raised to the third, and here we have u raised to the understood 1. And they're divided. So if it's division, you have to subtract the exponents. Okay, now, since we're doing 3 minus 1, we're going to leave the expression on the side where it was the most variables. So you have u cubed minus u to the 1, and that's going to leave us u squared. Since u cubed was bigger, we'll leave this up in the numerator. In our denominator, we just have 2. All right, let's take a look at a more complicated example. Okay, here in number 3, like I said, the first thing you want to do is deal with the negative exponents. We have negative exponents in the numerator and the denominator. And the first thing I'm going to do is switch those. I'm going to switch those. Now, you see here where I have 3 yx to the negative 1. The only thing raised to the negative 1 is the x. So the only thing I'm going to move is the x. So let's take a look and see what that looks like here. So I took my x to the negative 1 and brought it into the numerator. And took my my y to the negative 2 and brought it down to the denominator. All right, you see how they swap. All right, now next thing I want to do is go ahead and simplify. So I have my 2x cubed times x to the 1, and since I'm multiplying, I'm adding these exponents. So 3 plus 1 will be 4. And in the denominator, we'll have 2y times x cubed times 3y times y squared. So I'm going to take all these y's. I got y1, and y to the second. And 2 plus 1 would be 4. So that'd be y to the fourth. And I'm bringing down my x cubed. Also, I'm taking my 2 and multiplying times 3. Remember, we're only adding with your exponents, but everything else is the same. So you have 2 times 3, which is 6. Now I want to go ahead and simplify the fraction. And with um, my numbers is really easy. 2 over 6 reduced down to 1/3. And x to the fourth and y to the fourth, x cubed. Well, the only thing I have in common here is these two x's. So x to the fourth divided by x cubed, and you're going to subtract, and that'll give me x to the 1. So I have an understood 1 here and an understood 1 for my exponent, so it's just x. In the denominator, I have 3y to the fourth. Okay, so remember, it's important to take it step by step. You want to deal with your negative exponents. Then you want to simplify numerator and the denominator by multiplying. And then you want to go ahead and simplify your fraction and subtract your exponents by dividing. All right, let's take a look at our last example. All right, here I have x times y cubed, and in the denominator here I have a whole lot of negative exponents. So you want to be really careful when we get ready to move. Let's take a look. All right, so first I went ahead and move my x times y cubed over so I can move up all the things I want to move up here. I want to move up this x to the negative 2, this y to the negative 2, and this x to the negative 3. So it'll look like that. X squared, y squared, x cubed. Now what's left in the denominator is my 2 times 2 times my y cubed. So that takes care of my negative exponents. Okay, now I want to simplify by multiplying. So that means I'm going to add all my exponents here. Add all my exponents. So I have x to the 1, x squared, and x cubed. So that's 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is x to the 6. Also have a y cubed and a y squared. So that's 3 plus 2, which is y to the 5th. In the denominator, I'm going to multiply my 2 times 2 and get 4 and bring down my y cubed. Okay, now last step here is just go ahead and divide my exponents. So I have x to the 6th. There's nothing to do with the x to the 6th. I have y to the 5th and y to the 3rd. I subtract those, and that's going to give me y to the 2nd, and it's going to stay in the numerator. So I have x to the 6th, y to the 2nd, and that's going to leave me with 4 in the denominator. Okay, and that's it for now. Thank you for checking out A1 Math.